for free on Prime. If you got a subscription
Prime, yes.
for Amazon Prime, you can watch. I've been watching it for the last 3 or 4 days. Yeah, get your Star Trek fix, and it's set before Kirk. It's Captain Pike and the crew.
I'll make it selfish.
Oh, you put it on the...
Yeah, it's probably this.
On to the next speaker, now that we've seen the
Of course.
So amazing breadth here. So I'd like to introduce Daniel Roy. He's going to be talking about how to educate and enthuse the next generation. And you have particular experience doing that.
Yes, sir.
And, so Dan joined us from East Texas, very East Texas, right?
That's why I talk like that. Lake City, Texas.
So he's a master of engineering from France, electrical engineering as well. Led his own software company and worked for the Goddard Institute, Maryland. So
that's right.
Experience, many other things, so many I cannot all mention.
That's enough.
And so yeah, Dan, take it away.
Vielen Dank für mein Herr. Das ist nett von dir. Okay. Yeah, I know you can hear me, but can you understand what I say?
Yeah.
Sorry, I do not have subtitles today. You're going to have to bear with me. I gave this talk at ISDC, and they put me in a track that I was very puzzled by. I was in the track over road to space. And I was wondering, what the hell am I doing in over road? What am I doing here? I hope you are not asking yourself the same question now, because if you do, this talk is in the deep doo-doo. But I could not understand until it dawned on me. Over roads to space, fine. Every single road to space starts in somebody's mind. And here is one of them. This is George Abbey, former director of GSC, a true pioneer of the space race. Under his 40-year career, he put our little dirt path to space just after Mercury. He transformed that into a 6-lane highway where we had access to civilians, women, scientists, engineers, people with more melanin in their skin. He was at the end more of a diplomat than an engineer. And it is fitting that the rocket park at Space Center Houston be named after him. In retirement, he created the Foundation for International Space Education, which is where I am now working as, of course, an unpaid volunteer, like all of us. And this is a wonderful foundation that has as a major event a 2-week workshop involving 50 kids from 25 countries. And in those 2 weeks, those kids, in teams of teams, put together a mission to Mars. I mean, those kids are pretty smart. And if you ask yourself, what the hell is the USS? I'm glad you asked. Okay, now this clip is a little dated. Now we're in 40 countries on 5 continents. We've graduated 1,200 students from some 40 countries again over the 30 years of the program. And the way it works, we get those kids and put them into local families. Now those local families, same deal, are not paid. Okay, they have to host those 2 kids for the 2 weeks. And they feed them a little bit at night, but they are fed by us during the day. And that develops very strong friendships, typically, not only between the kids themselves, which is wonderful to see, but also between the parents on either side, because the parents keep in touch. And I have been involved now with a program enough that I have so many friends in so many countries that I will never have enough years in my life to visit them all. What is really wonderful is to see at the end of the program, those 50 kids who come from so different backgrounds, sometimes different religions, are friends. One time, I had all the 50 kids at my place because I lead the astronomy diet for the program, because I'm the education and outreach coordinator for the Houston Astronomical Society. I have about 12 telescopes myself. So we have a star party at my place, okay? And they were all there because, of course, as usual, the weather was bad. I could not show anything except stellarium simulations. So they were all in my swimming pool, around my swimming pool, with their feet dangling in the water. And they were talking, and they were laughing, and they were testing, and they were flirting, 16 to 19. And Rebecca and I, my wife, we looked at each other, holding each other's hand, thinking, this is the way it should ever be, always. And unfortunately, when we grow up, we seem to forget this a wonderful feeling that we are all brothers and sisters. We share the same kind of a dream that we have a better life for our children, and so on and so forth. So anyway, highly recommended. And the reason why I'm telling you this, even though you're way up north for me, is that I need good families. And if you have friends a little bit south of here, I would appreciate knowing about it, because I'm always looking for good families. And the way we do it now, we have, by word of mouth, recruited some good people, but they are all from the same Catholic Church. That is not my idea of representing America as a whole. Okay, so I would like to have representative of all of the religions, my dear sister. Assalamu alaikum. And I would appreciate also having people with a different color of skin. Okay, and I have good progress to report on that. A friend of mine in Senegal will participate in the program this year, very first time. And I am in contact with the head of the Senegalese Space Agency. So we will have another set of good contacts in the future. Right now, we select people very carefully. Typically, they are down selected at the national level. So we are not getting a bunch of yahoos here. We are getting people who are really dedicated, and some countries are a little bit less selective. My country of origin is not a very selective one, and I'm working on that too. And a few candidates are independent. I have a wonderful young friend from my ex-neck of the wood, because I worked for 12 years in Pittsburgh, PA. And I have a wonderful kid here, Ryan Sabota, who is an independent. Okay, he did not depend on anybody to select him. He said, hey, I want to do it. And he is now in the program. He made it because of sheer determination and a remarkable intellect. And this kid will go far. Now, we look at their CVs, and let me tell you, sometimes it is very discouraging. You see this kid, 18-year-old, who has done all those things, starting organization at the national level, starting all sorts of activities that you can only dream of, and you wonder, what the hell have I done with my life? 18-year-old. Yes. One time I had a girl who was in radio astronomy, so I'm a Daboli, I was interested in the details, and she knew her stuff. She knew the stuff. She knew Maxwell's equations. 18-year-old. I say, where did you work? Well, I'm working in Canada. I say, oh, okay, that must be the Commonwealth Astronomical Observatory in Canada over there. I said, no, that was the VLA, the Very Large Array, the most powerful radio telescope in the world. 18-year-old. She was operating this thing. I mean, this is the kind of kid we get. Okay. Now they have an essay, but in this essay they say why they would like to attend USS and what should be the next step for us to explore the cosmos, and a letter of recommendations. And some of those ideas on how to explore the cosmos are Star Trek looking, you know. You are going at War 10 to Proxima Centauri and much further than that. And so we have to then play their excitement, say, hey guys, let's do something that is realistic, okay? Most of them now do something that is more realistic, but very innovative. One of the kids said, I want to go to an asteroid that potentially could be an Earth crosser, and I want to eat it up. So I say, what do you mean eat it up? The kid was brilliant. He returned all the way back to Tsiolkovsky's rocket equation. The way Tsiolkovsky explained the rocket equation, you have a guy in a boat, and the boat is full of stones, and he gets a stone and throws the stone by the stern. And by reaction, the boat is accelerated. That's the way Tsiolkovsky explained rocket equation. That's what the kid was doing. He wants to mine whatever is important, and the silicates, so the silicate quarks that are left, he expulses them, you know, by magnetic levitation or magnetic guns, and that propulses the dangerous asteroid out of the dangerous orbit. This was brilliant. So anyway, we are very careful to select them. Get half of them, unfortunately, do not make it. A third we interview. And then it's not enough. Then we have the students go through 5 different categories of assignments. The 5 different categories I will later describe, that describe the 5 major aspects of the Mars missions. And this, their performance on these different assignments, guide their allocation to one of 5 teams. And every one of those 5 teams, or 5 to 9 students, is led by a mentor. And a mentor is a former USS student. A student who has gone there before and now guides the new generation, passing the torch to his colleagues. The class is also run by a professional teacher. Here is our good friend Carolina Anabel Casalastro, actually from Argentina. As you know, Argentina is very active in the space program. They have their own space agency, and they have also an independent organization, the CONAI, that designs and launches observation satellites. So we are talking about people who know what's going on. Now, Fernando is from Colombia, and Colombia does not have a former space agency, but the Comisión Colombiana del Espacio. This is basically an organism that advises the Colombian government as to what could be done in space. Esteban, I was actually hosting him yesterday night, picked him at the airport from Costa Rica. Wonderful young man, very interested in environment. He is a mechanical engineer, electromechanical engineer. And by the way, he was telling me that this country, Costa Rica, spends 7% of its budget on education. 7%. It is one of the highest level of education in the world. And those guys, of course, I think the average is 3 to 4%, okay? To give you an idea. So it's quite remarkable. And unfortunately, he doesn't have in this little country all the opportunities, but we are working on that. We are working to import him. We have Jost here, who is from Germany. We lead the red team, and I forgot to tell you something important. I apologize. When I look at those particular leaders, they are leading a specific team of a specific color. And you see blue here. Now, the blue team is responsible for mission parameters in the mission to Mars. Why are we going to Mars? What will we be doing there in terms of biology research, in terms of terraforming experiments, in terms of whatever it is you have in mind that you will be doing on Mars. That's the blue team. That's one of the 5 teams I was mentioning. Now, the red team that is led by Joyce will deal with, no, I'm sorry. That's a yellow team. The yellow team led by Just, will be dealing with the budget and establishing the Mission Operation Control Center. Now, that's always an interesting one because we are talking about very astronomical numbers. Red will be led by Aquaren here. Aquaren Johnson is, and the red team is in charge of the most important part, the way I see it. Most important is going from Earth orbit to Mars orbit and everything in between. So the ACLS, have you survived in space, surviving radiation and all that? And Aquaren has an interesting father. His father is Glenn Johnson here. And Glenn Johnson is at the head of Hunch, which is the high school united with NASA to create hardware. It's thousands of kids all over the nation that are putting together stuff that may someday fly in CubeSat or even on the space station. That's a remarkable program, which unfortunately is zeroed in the coming budget. And so he will probably lose his job.
So for everybody here,
C'est l'endowment here. Yeah, that's a very important project, and unfortunately, it's going to go down the drain, and that was our gain, because I have no doubt that Glenn will find a heck of a good job in industry. But it's so unfortunate to see that the next generation will not see the torch at all. Okay, now the Maroon here, led by Julia from New Zealand. Maroon team is responsible for orbit from Mars to Mars. So they are in Mars orbit, they go down, EGL, and then they come back up. That's what the Maroon team does. Then the green team is in charge, led by Henry here, from Wales, really. Henry is responsible for making his team, his green team, making sure that the astronauts survive on the surface of Mars. So the habitat on Mars, putting together rovers, and that kind of issue. Now the program is very loaded. Okay, as you can see, we have a lot to do in those 2 weeks. It starts with team building. Then on the Friday, we have a visit of the Space Center Houston. At night, we have a star party, and this time it will not be at my place. I already had scheduled with Precinct 2 Park Services a major regular outreach, a major regular star party with the city of Houston in the Challenger Memorial Park. And so we are combining this regularly scheduled star party with the VUSS star party. So we're going to have 200 people there. It will probably be the highest, the largest astronomical event in the Houston area this year. Now, here is an example of what I'm doing right now, but I am retired. This is one of my students, actually. The guy, I hosted him. He was staying at my place for those 2 weeks, three or 4 years ago. And Michael here, Michael Berman, who is from the Isle of Man, little island between the UK and Ireland. And he was an astronomer himself. So it was a pleasure, a joy to have him and observe with him every time with my 12-inch. And here he is explaining to the other kids who were all crammed into my living room, all the 50 of them, he's explaining how a telescope works. Then later we had them build a telescope themselves, basically a Galilean telescope in my garage. And of course I had to bribe them with ice cream. And it always ends up in my swimming pool. And the worst stupid thing I did was one time a little girl asked me, "Mr. Roy, it's so hot. Could we use your swimming pool?" I say, "Sure, honey, if you have a decent bathing suit, no problem." Big mistake. Okay, the girls went straight in, whatever they are wearing. As for the boys, they did not need any bathing suits. It was a total zoo. I thought the neighbors were going to send me the cops, okay, because it was so noisy. And it's always a lot of fun. I love those kids. I just love those kids. Okay? And then there is probably the most important, the most exciting part of it. as far as I'm concerned. The culture fair. During the culture fair, the kids are putting together something that represents their culture. And it is part of this intercultural exchange that is so valuable in United Space School. Here, for instance, Sofia and Federico from Chile are dancing their national dance, La Cuaca. Okay, and I'm familiar with that because my wife is Mexican. There are all sorts of other versions of this, such as this one, okay, which is closer to Jarabete Patio, which is Mexican. But this girl is from Colombia, and Saya from Colombia. And these dances typically are very beautiful to watch. But the Mexican version I'm familiar with, it is the girl who has the handkerchief. And if she gives it to the guy at the end, you see the guy with a big smile on his face. You know, something good's gonna happen. Now, this one is another aspect of it. Those Scottish kids, is it my imagination? It looks to me they are looking at the girls as if they were lunch. Okay? So we have some time to dampen their own foot. Hey, guys, you know, keep it down one notch, yeah? And I love this young woman, Simbat from Kazakhstan. She was playing an instrument with 2 strings. I used to play the guitar, you know, so 2 strings, something's missing to me. But she was able to make beautiful music, very rhythmic music with their traditional ancient instruments. And then she danced, and she was absolutely wonderful young lady. Of course, here we have Armut representing India in the classical style of Bharatanatyam. I'm sorry, that's Bharatanatyam. And I do remember some 60 years ago attending a wonderful dance at the Palais des Sports in Paris, where Yamini Krishnamurti, the legend of India, was dancing in that style. And I had tears in my eyes, seeing this girl who had grabbed the torch of this Yamini Krishnamurti, which was like a god, okay, in her country, dancing the story of courage and duty of the Bhagavad Gita, the sacred text of the Hindu, dancing it in front of me. I had never seen a goddess before, you know. This woman was extraordinary. And this young girl was dancing in that style. And I could recognize the movement, very stylized the movement. And of course, we prepared some food, traditional of their country. And that is always a lot of fun to see that there are many ways to accommodate the same kind of elements. On the second week, we become more serious about the technical aspects of the project. We have very experienced people telling us about what's going on. We have astronauts talking, we have engineers and scientists. And then on the Saturday of the last week, there are team projects presentation. Now, that's pretty serious because we have a bunch of old gray beard on the front, and I'm part of that. And we are preparing the kids with questions. But don't worry, they don't take it lying down, okay? One time I was asking one of the kids, listen, you claim to be doing a change of orbital plane at Mars. You know the delta V for that. He said, it's not my problem, it's the red teams. But he was right. He was absolutely right. It was the red team that was putting him on arrival in the right plane. And that is possible. That is very possible with the delta V he had. So those kids are pretty smart. And to give you an example of the same kind of guys who I was interacting with, they put together basically the rocket equation. Okay, here somewhere. Let me show you. It's in there. The logarithms. The pen. Yeah, that's what I want. Give me my laser pointer. There we go. There we go. So here is the rocket equation here, okay? Exponential and log of whatever. And he implemented the program in some programming language. Typically, it's Python, but this time it was It was C#, okay, but this is pretty cool that those kids already have enough knowledge to put together a program to implement whatever they have had in mind. So of course, it's kind of silly when you look at that. I mean, if you don't know what kind of engine you have, give me a break. You don't go to Mars yet. Anyway, and after that, let me get rid of these pointers. After that, we have the entertainment, and one of the most famous was when we had astronaut, forgot his name, the astronaut from Canada, Hansen, and we had at the Opera House, and we had a wonderful concert. And of course, we have a celebration by which the people, the kids show the flag and get their degrees. And the degree is typically given to them by an astronaut. And this year it was Bill MacArthur, who worked on 3 different STS missions. And he also participated in Expedition 12, TMA 7. And that means he flew on Soyuz. And one of our good friends, actually, who also worked on Soyuz, had to go back on TMA 1. And there was a little malfunction, and the Soyuz could not do a standard reentry. They went through a ballistic reentry, and that's how Don Petty hurt his elbow. It was Don Petty and Ken Bauer-Sarks, actually. Both of them were returned that day on Soyuz, and you've been on the space station for 6 months in 0G, and poof, this thing flew 8 Gs at you. I mean, those guys are pretty solid people, And Don is a remarkable man. He's so nice. And he's also the oldest of the astronauts, Don Petty. And he's a remarkable photographer and a great teacher. Okay, I've seen his lectures explaining the rocket equation. Actually, he called that the dictatorship of the rocket equation. Beautiful lecture. I mean, highly recommended. It's on YouTube, Don Petty. And again, what is wonderful is to see the friendship that develops between these kids and between the parents in such a short amount of time. And of course, there is the graduation. Now, we have had some very brilliant kids along the years. Interestingly, a lot of medical doctors. I don't know why, but a lot of them become medical doctors. I have statistics, but by, a rough order of magnitude, 20 to 25% become medical doctors. Maybe studying the astronaut CLS and all that, that motivates them to the health professions. And of course, our star this year is Jackson Liebeck. He was, and he is the flight director for Blue Ghost. And he is the one who has landed his spaceship on Mars right side up on the 2nd of March this year. Okay, so that's pretty impressive achievement, and that's to the credit of this team who put together enough work and enough energy to make it such a wonderful success. Another one that is dear to my heart is a good friend, Bethany Evans, USS 2019. Now, this young lady is into molecular biology, and I believe that this is the century of molecular biology. I mean, you have bacteria producing perfect human insulin for recombinant DNA. You have CRISPR that allows us to edit any genome at will. You have AlphaFold, the artificial intelligence program, computing the shape of a protein, knowing the chain of amino acids, and the reverse. You can tell the thing, give me this particular protein shape, which will do whatever it is I want. And the system, by an equivalent of genetic algorithm, actually, compute the chain of amino acids that will produce this protein shape. It's Star Trek stuff. It's just, so anyway, this is the molecular biology century. And I tell you, I cannot wait. I am suffering of patellofemoral chondromalacia grade 4, okay, which is bone on bone. And when I have a cytokine that those guys will have found that produces my good cartilage I used to produce some 70 years ago, I will be back in business. Right now, I'm looking at surgery.
There you go.
So anyway, I played on the game here because the theme of ISDC this year was Together Beyond. Unfortunately, Together Beyond Darkness would be more appropriate when you know that 25% of Americans think that we spend too much in space when it's 0.2% of the budget. Okay? And for this source, it is no less than Xavier Gonzalez, who in 2025, on the 14th of June, actually, at a meeting like this one, was telling us, he is the VP of Education for NSS. Okay? Then a 2014 poll found that 26% of Americans believe that the sun revolves around the Earth. And then another kind of survey showed that 84% of the people think, yeah, I guess I always knew the Earth is round. But more importantly and more annoyingly, of the age 18 to 24, only 4% were sure that the Earth is flat. I mean, no, but it's easy again to say, oh, those idiots, you know, we know better here. No. Repeat after me. Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. This is my fault. This is my fault. This is a very big fault because we are responsible for telling them. If they don't know, don't just scream at it. Tell them. And that's what I'm trying to do with my little group in my little neck of the wood. We are putting together every single first Saturday of the month a star show and a microscopy show, basically a STEM show, and we distribute flyers, we distribute old magazines, and we give lectures. And I'm partnering with a wonderful young woman, a 20-something from Senegal. See here on the screen. We also participate as judges in the Science and Engineering Fair of Houston, for instance, which is another way you can easily participate in passing the torch. We give lectures in libraries, and we have this regular meeting that is encouraged by the city. You know, that's like NSS, okay? NSS at ISDC, you pay for coming in, and then you give a talk for them, okay? You don't even get a cup of coffee for this, all right? So that's a pretty good business model. Yes, sir. Yes.
Participated.
Yes, sir.
Are you a place judge or special awarding?
This year I was not. Okay, last year I was special judge, but the year before I was an ordinary judge, and they put me in astronomy, of course. And that's a very important thing and very relatively easy thing to do. It is not a big deal. It's always very well advertised. I'm a member of the AAAS. Now, with AAAS, if your car breaks down, you're on your own, okay? Because AAAS is the American Association for the Advancement of Science. So if your car breaks down, don't call them. But it's a wonderful organization that will tell you about this kind of thing. Yes, sir.
And then you also
Thank you. Your school participates then in the Regeneron International Science Fair, right?
I did not know that. Good.
That's the largest science fair in the world.
That's very important. And again, there is no reason why we could not be involved in that, okay? It doesn't require a lot of effort, a lot of work to do that. So highly encourage to try that. So what we do is also, we were noticed by SCH, of course, and they selected us to put together a program with our telescopes and the clubs in the area to show the eclipse to the public, but it was in October 2023. That was the partial, actually, and that was a zoo. I mean, we have 3,000 people here, for heaven's sake, and there is no way we could handle that. And this needs a little bit more work. Okay, better organization, better planification. The problem I had, and I always have, in a big event in astronomy, is the astronomers are going for the good stuff themselves. For instance, when there was the the total eclipse, okay, which was in February of 24, they all went on the path of totality, okay, ended up in Dallas, for instance, which was one of the best spots for that, by the way. Everywhere else was very cloudy. So it's very hard for me, okay, to find astronomers to help me at SCH if the real guys are chasing totality in the countryside. We gave talks at Space Center Houston in the major auditorium with my friend from Senegal. And by the way, I want to put a plug for that too, because this program called NASA Partner Eclipse Ambassador, this particular program is put together by the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, a very prestigious organization for astronomy. And they have put together this program by which an astronomer is paired with a student, okay? And those two work together to put together programs and pass the torch to other generations. Now, I've decided to move on to microscopy as well for a lot of reasons. One, because I know this is the century of molecular biology. So I want to hook the kids with biology to start with. But the second reason is more prosaic. I never have good skies in Lake City. Never. Okay. There is always light pollution. There is always some clouds. So what do? And I always advertise, I never cancel. And that is pretty stupid because indeed I never cancel in the 10 years of the program. One time I was in the hospital for a suspected stroke and I knew I did not have a stroke. I mean, I did not have any of the standard issues. And I knew that they had done the MRI, they had done everything they had to do, and it had returned negative. So I demanded to be released because I had the star party that night. And so they had me sign a release against medical consent. Okay. So I did not want to just cancel. I made it a point of honor because if you cancel, then you're not reliable. People will not believe you anymore. But I think I'm going to ease up on that because now it's not only me. I have a team of 4 friends who are always helping me doing this thing. It's not only me. So I cannot impose that on them. So instead of canceling, I decided to add microscopy because microscopes don't care if it rains cats and dogs. Okay, we are in the shelter and we can show the ecosystem in a drop of water to the kids, even if it's not very good outside. A telescope, on the other hand, that's another story. And it's wonderful to see the excitement from the kids. And so my point is this, okay? We have to do much better. We, the people of NSS, we have to do much better in terms of passing the torch because there is a lot of work to be done here. We're going to need a lot of torches to illuminate all those little corners of darkness. Okay, and I think this is probably the best thing that personally I can think of doing. And as far as I'm concerned, I will keep passing the torch, 50 kids at a time, until I reach escape velocity, because that will be my way to honor the legacy of George, William, Samuel, Abbé. Ad Astra! Okay, bah, c'est